Hi, Kevin Ledoux at Ledoux Guitars. Today, I just completed putting a new cutter head in this jointer. This is an older Bridgewood jointer imported by the Wilkie Machine Company. They no longer import machinery as I understand it. Um, this has been a really good jointer, and I replaced the cutter head because I just wanted to get into a helical cutter head instead of the straight knives that this thing was employing before. So I thought I'd do a short video just kind of recapping what I did to put the thing in there and reporting to you what the results seem to be. Now, I installed a Grizzly cutter head. I don't recall the model number, but I'll show it to you up closer later. Um, it needs to be understood by all viewers that uh, Grizzly is not aware that I'm doing this. I'm not promoting for them. I'm not advocating that you buy what they have in any way. This was just the choice that I made for this particular cutter. I will say that I decided to go with this particular cutter head because the Helical cutter head is a little bit more expensive, but it takes a lot longer to get them. And Grizzly did tout this one as being equal to the Helical in every regard. So I'm going to move you up closer and show you some of the details and then report what I think. Installing this thing was really not difficult at all. But there are certain things that you have to do just to make things happen. First of all, you need to back down your in-feed table and back down your out-feed table about as far as they'll go, just to get the clearance so that the old cutter head will slip out and the new one slips in. The next thing you'll want to do is remove the rabbiting table, which is held in position here with a couple of these Allen head screws. You can see them right there if I can get that just right. Um, you need to remove that. Otherwise, you just can't get down in there to handle this thing. And you need to remove the fence. Now, you could remove the fence if you want to get rid of some of the excess weight. Just take the fence off. But then this table behind it, I think you'll want to remove that too. I took the whole thing off in one piece. And that's held in with, you can see an Allen head right there. And there's another one back in there behind it. So it's probably easier to just take this whole fence and the bracket that holds it right off the machine. And of course, you'll want to remove that orange guard that's back there, and you'll want to get the belt off the machine. All simple steps, easy to do. So the next thing is you're going to loosen up the cutter head by loosening this nut right here under the center of the jointer. There's one on each side, happens to be a 19 millimeter. And once you get those loosened up, you can then reach over there and lift the old cutter head out. Now, your new cutter head will come supplied with 2 bolts to replace the old ones. I didn't happen to use them. I didn't feel that I needed to, but you could. Here's what they look like. And when you lift the old cutter head out, whether you use these or use the old ones, you want to thread those back into these bearing blocks before you set the cutter head down in there. Once you've done that, it's just a matter of putting these nuts back on and tightening those up. Now, you want to make sure that the surfaces in the jointer are perfectly clean before you set this cutter head back in there. And if for some reason you have any unevenness here, in other words, if the table is not perfectly parallel with the top dead center of those cutters, implying that the cutter head is not setting in there correctly, you can shim that. But I believe Grizzly mentioned that any more than about 3/1000ths of an inch, and they don't want you to do that. So make sure that your jointer is actually capable of this. But once it's bolted in, that's really all there is to it. So it's a matter of reassembling your your rabbiting table, reassembling the rip fence, and putting the guard back on this. Now, setting this thing up to make it actually work is very, very simple. you'll need a good straight edge, of course, to gauge top dead center of these cutters. And I'm being very careful moving those because they are, as I said, they are very sharp. Um, but by setting a straight edge here and then moving it here and rotating the cutter head, you can determine when the table is in fact at top dead center of those cutters. I used a machinist parallel. You could use the blade of a good combination square or a real good straight edge, um, and that'll do the job for you. And once you've gotten that far and you've got your outfeed table uh, solidified, tightened down, that is, you should be good to run this thing. And you'll want to do, of course, a couple of test cuts. Now, I found that when I did my test cuts, I wasn't quite where I needed to be with my outfeed table, but it's very simple to test this, and I will change positions with the camera again and see if I can't even show you what's going to happen there. Now, to make your test cuts, to make sure that the jointer is operating correctly, this is really very simple. I have the guard out of the way so that you can see what I'm doing. You want the guard in position at all times. Please don't operate the jointer without it. What you're going to do is start your jointer, and you're going to move your material into it. Now, I'm hitting the cutter head here, but we're just going to pretend that it's operating. As you advance your material through, if the material stops against the outfeed table, that means that it's slightly too high. And you can literally pull back, loosen your gibs down here, and very, very carefully adjust that table downward until the slightest pressure just moves that material across the cutter and onto the outfeed side. If, on the other hand, you are cutting and everything seems to be working smoothly, but all of a sudden you get snipe out here at this end, or you're cutting a taper of some sort, that's telling you that your outfeed table is too low. Regardless of all of the dial indicators and straight edges you may use, it's whether or not the jointer will cut a straight edge that counts. So a little dynamic testing is a good idea. And when you do this, start with an edge that's reasonably straight in the first place so that you're not making all kinds of guesses about this. But it's really a simple thing to do. And I'm going to crank up my dust collector here and show you that this thing is working properly. So we're going to start here with just a nasty old piece of shagbark hickory. Thought we might as well test with the hard stuff so that you can see that this thing really works. And I have my dust collector running, so let's do it. So there's the surface, and as you can see, this is not perfect material. It's got grain changes in it, it's got knots in it, and so on. But I'm seeing a real nice smooth surface here that I like a whole lot. And same with the edge. It's done a terrific job. This particular cutter head, again, I am not advertising for Grizzly at all, but you can see that this cutter head has this V design, which Grizzly claims helps focus dust and chips more toward the center of the system and gets them into your dust collection system more easily. That's their claim. It's not mine. I don't know for sure, but it's worth mentioning that that's their thinking in this. There is a reduction in noise over the original 4-knife cutter head that is just drastic. It's the difference between day and night. Ear protection is still always a good idea, but this jointer is so much quieter than it ever was, and that rhythmic whack with those straight knives was just, it was terrible. And of course, as the knives get increasingly dull, it just gets worse and worse and worse. So there it is, and here I am again. So thanks for watching this. I hope this video has been somewhat helpful. It's not as much instructive as it is encouraging. If you happen to have one of these jointers, um, this may be something that would interest you and a change that you'd like to make in your machine. And there was another brand of jointer that this cutter had fits other than a Grizzly as well. I don't know which one they mentioned. But if you go to their website and look for helical cutter heads, this thing will show up. It's not cheap. I think this thing was with shipping and whatnot, it was $500, but that's okay because a good set of knives for this thing, we're going to run me around $60, and you're just a few months of using those, and you got to rehone and redo them and all. So seemed worthwhile. Anyway, thanks for watching this. I hope it was sort of helpful. Once again, I'm Kevin Ledoux at Ledoux Guitars. I'd appreciate it if you'd put a like on the video, and please make comments or ask questions if you have any. I try and read all of the comments and answer any questions that come by. Thanks again for watching.